It's September 29th, 2020. It's about 9 a.m. I'm just on my way up to Snowbird, Utah to do a hike to the top of the tram and take it down. I'll be at about 11,000 feet elevation. I'll be starting at about 9,000 feet, so it should be a good hike. You can see the mountains there. I'm going to be hiking and looking forward to it. It's always a good day when I get to go out there and climb the mountain. So let's go out there. Let's make it a great day. I got my Batman superhero pants on, so there'll be a superhero on the mountain. So just in case someone needs to be saved, we got a hero on the mountain. So it's going to be a great time. Maybe one of the last times I hike up there, so I'm going to try and get the most out of it and make it a great experience. That's what it's about. You make choices to have good experiences. So I got up at midnight, went to the gym and worked out for about 3 hours. Then I went home and read for about 4 or 5 hours. Now I'm gonna go hike for a few hours and then call it a night. So it's gonna be a good day. I love my days off from work because I get to do awesome activities like this. So let's go make it happen. Let's be determined to make it a great life. And you know, there's gonna be obstacles and challenges along the way, but that's how we grow and that's how we develop and that's how we become better. So let's keep getting better. Let's keep getting stronger, and let's go make it happen.
If you know my family, you know where we grew up, and if you knew us as we grew up, we have a lot of big personalities in our family. Nick being a very big one, and he was very full of life. Nick and I are Valentine's babies. We're 2 years apart minus a day. So Nick's November 18th, 1978. I'm November 17th, 1980. So Valentine's babies. I always felt like our birthdays were pretty boring because we always had to share them, and it was just, yeah, it was lame. But looking back, it was great. I mean, when I was younger, I kind of felt like it wasn't a big deal, but as I got older, I realized how nice it was to be able to share a birthday with your brother. Not everybody gets to do that. Nick was the hardest working person and most disciplined person I had ever known. For instance, he loved to hike.
Well, you can see how far down it is behind me. It's nice up here.
He always wanted to hike the 7 highest peaks in the world. I hope that's exactly what he's doing now. While he was here though, he did hike Mount Olympus a lot. As far as I know, he has the fastest unofficial time up and down Mount Olympus. The fastest time as of 2016 was 1 hour and 58 minutes. I read that it's a 6 to 7 hour walk round trip, and so that's really fast. But not only did Nick beat that time, he did it in 1 hour and 45 minutes. He had his 3-year-old son on his back. Imagine loving something so much and the joy he had showing his son that hike, and then beating the fastest time with your son. That's the kind of father Nick was. Nick had a funny little snicker, and when he told me the story, I remember him just with that smile and snickering like it was no big deal, almost like laughing at the guy that had the 1 hour and 58 minutes. Nick and I are also pushers. We push people into jumping off cliffs or doing stuff they don't want to do. Well, Nick pushed me into going camping after his mission. I didn't want to go, but my mom made me. It was an awful experience. It was around November, and we had crappy sleeping bags, a crappy tent, and Nick brought crappy food. He did all the heavy lifting though, because that's just the kind of guy he was. On our way out the next morning, I started falling behind. Nick picked me up, took my backpack and all my gear and said, "Let's go." He still beat me to the car carrying everything we brought. Another time we went hikeboarding up Bryant Ski Resort. I fell behind again and Nick carried his snowboard and my snowboard to the peak. Oh, and remember how I said we were pushers? That same trip, Nick also pushed me into doing my first backflip at the age of 12. Without Nick, there are many, many things that I wouldn't have done to this day. I'm grateful that I was able to speak at a celebration. I'm grateful for my family, and thank you everybody here for coming. Love you, bro. Thanks.
My first memory of Nicholas Casey Wilcox, I was probably 5, and Nick was probably 3 or 3.5. My mom told me that I had to go teach Nick how to play soccer, and I was so upset. So I was standing there, "Okay, Nick, if you kick it at the bottom of the ball, it's going to go high. Kick it in the center to make it go as far as possible, and kick it at the top with the side of your foot to pass it." You need to understand, Nick had a rash around his face his entire childhood. So he was like, "Dusty, watch how far I can kick it." was like, no, Nick, practice these things I'm trying to teach you. Okay, Dusty, look how far I can kick it. You know, I was better than Nick at baseball, but I think he was better than me at soccer as we got older. We played on the same team one year, and we both just sat by the goalkeeper the entire time. I was by our goalkeeper, he was by their goalkeeper. I stressed out that they put the terrible kids in the back as fullbacks, so I was back there the whole time like, okay, they're going to kick it to that kid, I'm going to run and act like I'm there, and then I have to run to the other kid. Nick was sitting there working on his tan, and whenever the ball would go down to their goal, he was like, pass it here, pass it here. Even if someone had a clear shot, pass it here. In Nick's defense, he is the guy you want to pass it to. He is the guy that's going to bring home the gold. Nick and I love the Rocky movies.
I like the movie where Sylvester Stallone says it's not how hard in life you get hit that counts, but how hard you get hit and keep going that matters. So you got to keep going.
We probably watched Rocky 3 1,000 times together as kids. And Mr. T, Clubber Lang, we used to sit and talk like, I don't want to be that guy that gets rich and stops working out and becomes weak. I want to be Clubber Lang, the guy that's, you know, in a dirty apartment on a Saturday night with a pull-up bar just going ham. Be careful what you wish for. When Rocky IV came out, oh wow, that was a defining moment for Nick. We went to the Hewish Theater together and watched that movie. I remember looking over at Nick. I don't think he blinked one time. When the movie ended, Nick ran down to the front of the screen and just started going nuts, just started boxing, and I was kind of sinking in my seat, embarrassed, but the entire audience started cheering. I was like, don't cheer this kid on, but I think that's when Nick became a man of action, right in that moment. As we got older, in our late teens, we were best friends, together every day. Those are some of my best memories, and many of them are too special to share. But we used to lift weights together for hours, and we had so many inside jokes. We would laugh hysterically the entire time. I think people were looking at us kind of annoyed and like, do you guys even work out? Hey, we're here for 4 hours. Yeah, we still work out. Nick has a weird style. We went to a dance club once. Nick had this leather overcoat, like Walker Texas Ranger, but leather. So we go to this dance club, and all these guys are laughing at him, making fun of his jacket. And Nick's standing there, the most confident guy on the planet, with his little Nick snicker. Totally happy. By the end of the night, Nick was surrounded by girls, like, worshiping him. I look over at the guys, and they're looking at each other like, I don't know where you get that jacket, maybe JCPenney? Nick, I know you better than about anyone. I know how hard you work. I know that you fought the good fight. I know that you paid the uttermost farthing. I know that you will be there to greet me when I pass through the veil. I would be there for you. We will be brothers forever.
Known Nick for 30 years, Nicky 6, what we like to call him. The reason I'm wearing this suit, now I know why I bought this suit 5 years ago, not knowing why the hell I bought it, but I just like the colors. Well, you guys know the saying, luck favors the bold, and the harder you work, the luckier you get. Nick Wilcox was the most bold person I've ever met in my life, in a good way. And he's also one of the hardest workers I've ever met, as attested by his brothers working out at 4 in the morning for a couple hours and then doing a repeat in the evening. Nicky 6 would love this suit as much as anybody here might not like it. I love it, and so would Nicky 6. He's the only other person I've seen eating tuna out of a can besides myself. One of the most honest people I've ever met. I don't think I have ever heard him lie. He never talked bad about anybody. Something I can't say. Not once. Never did I see him sad or negative. He never complained. And this is, again, as a friend. It wasn't family, but this is for knowing Nick for 30 years. One of my favorite memories was Lake Powell trip. It was his boat, or maybe a family's boat. We were both dating these two friends that were hotties. So we go down there, and Sandy and Heather, I think their names, but me and Nikki, we go down there, us four, and it was one of the funnest trips I've ever had. The storm came in, rocking the boat in the middle of the night. I'm not the best swimmer. Nikki dives down to do something with the anchor that was stuck or something. Dives down 30, 40, I don't know how many feet down there and does whatever he does, get the things undone. Comes back up a few minutes later. Nikki 6, man. A couple other stories here. So I did sales for 10 years, door-to-door sales. You don't make sales, you don't make money. 100% commissions. I was doing that for a while. Nikki 6 was doing timeshare sales. I said, we got to get this guy. I told Todd Peterson, the owner of Apex Vivint Alarm System, I said, if we get this guy, he's going to be the best salesman you guys have ever had. Well, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of sales reps that have gone through that. Well, we got Nikki 6. He did over 400 sales installed his first summer. And that's in 4 months. Made over, I think, $250K in 4 months. That's Nikki 6 right there. I've never seen him scared. He doesn't get scared hitting on chicks, doesn't get scared going to auditions, doesn't get scared getting rejected on the doors doing sales. I mean, the guy was a machine. Never saw him scared except when he saved my life on Lone Peak. He pulled me up at Lone Peak. We made a human chain, but he was the last link to hold my arm to pull me up Lone Peak. And you guys know the cliffs up there, they're 900 feet straight down. We were on the side of it. It wasn't 900 feet, but it was several hundred feet fall. And Nikki 6 was standing perpendicular to the cliff like this, holding my arm and pulled me up. I don't even think I would say scared. I think he was a little concerned. I got shingles the next day. Playing tennis, and I'm itching my back. I'm like, I don't really get zits right there that often. What's going on here? Next day, I got some other bumps over here. My mom's like, taking you in. Takes me in, I got freaking shingles. Nikki 6 probably got excited, you know? It's Nikki 6 right there.
My friend and I were hiking Lone Peak when we were like 20, and he wanted to take this route, and I'm like, sure, let's go for it. I'm game. Anyway, we started going up it, and it got real steep and real dangerous real quick, and we couldn't go back down, and going up was dangerous. I got to a point where I had to literally cross this chasm that was dangerous. I probably shouldn't have done it, but I survived it. My friend, though, he wouldn't do it. He got stuck there, and I was like, what am I supposed to do? Hike down this mountain? We're clear at the top. It was like 8 hours down. But there were some people up at the peak, so I saw him and I went up there and asked him for help, and they came down and we made a human chain and grabbed him and pulled him to safety. But he was pretty shooken up. He couldn't eat and he was in shock. And anyway, shout out to Josh Davis.
The best friend you could ever ask for. He's always down for whatever, whenever. You want to go eat tuna out of a can? Down. You want to go hike Lone Peak? Down. You want to go to the freaking club? Down. Down for anything. Live for 4 hours? Down. Another couple of things that people might not know about him, the wealth of knowledge that guy had. Always studying, biographies, documentaries. The guy's a wealth of knowledge. A dreamer, but not just a dreamer, but as they said, a man of action. Another cool thing about Nikki 6 is he was outcome independent. I'm a professional tennis coach. I love competing. I'm a crappy loser. Nikki 6 was outcome independent. Whether he got the chick or didn't get the chick, he's still smiling and laughing. Whether he got the win on the basketball court or got the win in whatever he did, he was still the same demeanor. You know, meeting triumph and disaster with the same, you know, that was Nikki 6. He made me a better person. He pushed me. One other last quick story is when I did sales. I'm the one that recruited him into that. I did it for 10 years. We got Nikki 6 to do. We had a competition. It was competition toe-to-toe. Who can do the most sales this day? And it was like $500 to $1,000 per sale that you made commission. And I did 8, which is a big day. Most people, some kids don't get that in a week. Most people quit their first or second day. Nikki 6 did 10. The guy was the man. Love you, brother, till we meet again. And thanks for saving my life on Lone Peak.
Feels great. I'm just up here all by myself. No one's on the mountain as far as I can see. It's just me and the mountain. Go up there and find something like that in your life that gives you that sensation of joy or peace or whatever you want to call it. It makes me feel great when I'm out here in nature with the mountain and me, and even some snow like this is kind of nice. Yeah, but it's not fun to hike on. Oh, it feels good though. It's not too hot. It's nice and cool.
Nick had so many wonderful friends. He had friends in California, a few I've talked to. They're really missing him. He has friends from high school, wonderful friends from high school. He has a few friends here that he would hike with sometimes. And if you're a cousin, you're kind of like a best friend too, which is strange, right? We all think, oh, the cousin, but not Nick. Like if you're a cousin, let's go hang out, man. It's, you know, we're bros for life. I love that about my brother. We grew up in an interesting family. We grew up out in the country. I thought it was normal that your brothers and sisters were your friends. I didn't realize you had other friends. There was only one other girl in the whole neighborhood. So all we did was play together. We would jump on these trampolines, and we had 3 of them. My mom thought she was like a trampoline salesman, but she never sold any. She only bought them and put them in the yard. So we had 3 of them. And I mean, I'd jump for hours. I was a total introvert, talk to myself. I was just an interesting child. But my best moments were outside on the trampoline with my best friends. Today, I can't talk about my brother without talking about my siblings. I was telling my brothers and sisters, I said, do you remember those years we jumped on the trampoline out in the country? We were holding hands, big belly laughs. We were in the sunshine. There was dust everywhere, and then sprinklers would come on, and we're like, oh yeah, now it's a party. Jumping on the trampoline, sliding around. Of course, we had no mats on the trampoline, so it was a danger zone. You know, someone was gonna definitely get injured every time you jump. But I'll tell you what, knowing about like breathing and that type of thing, we were building a bond and our hearts were being knit together. So when I say I lost my brother, he's just the first one to go home. That's it. And I want to tell my brothers and sisters, each one of you, if they're here today, man, I love you so much. And that's the family bond I'm talking about is our connection to each other is everything we have in this life. It's really everything. All right, so of course I love my family. So what do I write about in my journal? My family. So here's Nick. This is a picture I put in my journal. I went and blew it up. Look at that cute kid. So he would have been 6 and I was 9. So here's what I wrote. I knew him all too well and he didn't change much. Nicky is 6 years old. He's the second to the youngest boy in our family. He is really strange. When people are watching movies, he will get in front of that TV and start dancing for attention. And when he makes deals, he thinks it over. Then he finds out about it. Then he makes you feel like you are the lucky one. And that it's more fair for you, but it's really not. So Nick was a little salesman at the age of 6 years old. I want to tell my mom something. I want to tell you what I wrote about you when I was 9 years old. This is my mom. She spoils me rotten. She cannot stand a sad face. She can't stand to say no. She lets us stay up as late as we want. She believes in herbs and is totally against doctors. Lots of people hate her for this because of it, but I don't care. I love her no matter what happens. So if you're wondering if the Wilcoxes have any kindness inside them whatsoever, it's that lady right there. She's one of the most incredible women, and I've always felt that way. It's a gift I have that I see the beauty in my mom. So here's my dad. My dad is almost 40. He loves me so much. I know it. His face is so happy. He sometimes gets a little grumpy. But I know he loves us, and that's all that's important. He's very smart and well-mannered. He's very understanding, and I love him very much. Us children, we got our kindness from our mom and our logic from our dad. And aren't we blessed? There's never a reason to be upset with each other when you have these two parents right here. I knew Nick was struggling. I was really having a hard time with one of my kids. And Nick knew this. So he sent me a text. The text says, "Hey Kira, I hope everything's going okay. You're a great person. Always remember that." And I knew what he was trying to do. I knew he was trying to cheer me up, you know. So I sent back a message, and it says, "Nick, this message came to me at the perfect time. I love you so deeply and unconditionally. I can't even describe it. So always remember that." And that was our last text that we had with each other. Nick brought me his energy. And even if he was having a hard time, he was all about me, you know? I wrote a poem for him and I'd like to share it. It's called My Brother Nick. Nick, the brother who taught me about physical endurance by racing a guy half his age straight out of boot camp up one of the highest peaks in Lava Hot Springs and winning. Sorry, Drake. Nick, the brother who taught me about the healing power of a physical touch by giving one of the strongest and most authentic hugs I've ever had. Nick, the brother who taught me of compassion by sending me a text of comfort when I was struggling, even as I knew he was suffering far more than I. Nick, the brother who taught me that those biking around the streets of LA could come in the form of an Arnold Schwarzenegger look-alike and have the heart of a teddy bear. Nick, the brother who taught me when you have a friend, you are a friend for life. When you have a relative, and I mean distant relative, we should hang out. If you are a stranger working out next to me in the gym, you're my friend now. Can you go on a hike? Nick, the brother that taught me to continue on. The race is not over. Once you have done all you can do, and that my brother did, to perfect your mind, your body, your soul, your relationships, you may rest in the Savior, as He is the only one to make us whole. He will be waiting for us at the highest peak. I was there with him when he left. It was a very sacred experience for me. And when I went in his room, I'm like, wonder what he was doing in here. And I look over right next to his bed. Everything was just normal, but there was like a Book of Mormon and a biography sitting there. And I thought, well, he's just up interviewing either that biography guy or the guy in the Book of Mormon. I'm not sure, but he's definitely conducting one of the greatest interviews right now. And because he always thought that would be amazing to interview people.
This is great. Feels awesome up here. Such a nice day. The sun is out. It's bright. I'm loving it. So get out there, be active, develop yourself, your talents, your gifts, so that you can help make the world a better place by sharing your gifts and your talents with the world and improving yourself and the world and all humanity as best as you can. So it always makes life better all around for the whole world if we can do those things that are improving humankind. So as well as remember, everyone is equal. No one is any better than anyone else. We're all equal. Let's try and do those things for others that we would have them do unto us. Practice the golden rule. Also be that change you want to see in the world, as Gandhi taught. But get out there, make sure you're prepared. I had my hiking boots this week. Last week I didn't, so I was more prepared, which, look at this snow. If I hadn't brought those, I wouldn't have made this hike. So now I'm almost at the top. I'm feeling exhilarated, great, and I've got a little bit more, and I'm excited I'll get to the top. Probably eat some of my food, head down, and have a great day. So let's go make it a great day. Enjoy the wonderful view. Look at those mountains behind me. Right there, this is Little Cottonwood Canyon trams. So at any rate, get out there and make your life better by improving it, or by doing those things that'll improve it, all right? Talk to you on the next video. Bye.
Everyone in this room is familiar with Nick one way or another. You may be a family member, a friend, or just a casual acquaintance. Maybe he saved your life. It's a possibility. He's done it several times. Regardless, each one of you have a view of Nick from your own perspective. And today I would like to share Nick as a father from a sister's perspective. Nick became a father in 2002 to a little girl that they named Nicole. She was a little mini-me of Nick in so many ways, and she looked exactly like him. The two had a bond that was truly precious. I was fortunate enough to be around them often during this time. They were living with my parents, and I was staying there as well. I remember vividly when Nick would come home from his very high-pressure sales job. The first thing he would do was race in and grab Nicole. He would toss her in the air a couple of times, then he would get on the ground and roll around with her, and he would say, "It's my little Nicky, Nicky, Nicky girl. It's my little Nicky, Nicky, Nicky girl." Later on, they moved into a new home. I would go visit on certain occasions, and I would always see Nick either cooking, doing dishes, or something like that, on top of holding Nicole on his hip. He would be bouncing her around and singing to her. It was super rare to ever see the two of them apart. Those are some very, very precious memories for me, and I hold them very sacred. Just a few years later, his daughter Whitney was born, and his love magnified. As the years progressed, Nick was wearing himself thin. It became very obvious between his family, his work, his church callings, and his mental health issues. He eventually had a breakdown. Over the next few years, Nick battled the legal system and his mental health to no avail. And the time came that he had to part with his daughters, physically, but never emotionally. There were many times a lot of us in the family would find Nick in fetal position, crying that he just couldn't live without his daughters being in his life. Those are very painful memories for me that I also hold very sacred. Nick became a father again on September 11th, 2013, to a son that he and his wife Carmen named Nicholas Gabriel Wilcox. We call him Gabe. I saw light return to my brother's eyes as he cradled his newborn son. Nick spent countless hours hiking, biking, and working out with Gabriel right by his side, or more commonly, right on his back. Carmen recently shared a story with me about a time they invited some family friends to go hiking with them. Clearly, this family had no idea what they were getting into. Apparently, as Nick was hiking the mountain like the animal that he was, the kids started to complain about the misery of the situation. So Nick quickly grabbed two of the kids, put them on his back, and hiked them to the peak. He then turned around and went back for the other two. There's no doubt he was more than willing to throw the adults on his back as well. But I'm certain they saw the situation and thought, maybe we ought to just get a second wind and make it to the top. Nick had such determination to reach every peak that he climbed. He knew the beauty and the feeling of accomplishment that awaited him up there. He wanted others to have that same experience to such a degree that he was always willing to carry the heavy load on his back through the end stretch. And so, this is my brother's legacy through the eyes of a sister. Perseverance. A dedication to fight through the pain, sweat, and tears to reach the peak. Gabriel has the fierce drive of his father. I get to spend a lot of time with Gabriel. It's very precious. He is physically very, very strong. Yes, very strong. He's agreeing with me. He loves riding a bike and he's very competitive. But most importantly, he is always willing to take the load when others are struggling to make that last stretch. Just a few hours after we told him that his daddy had passed away, Gabe found me in the kitchen and I was crying. And he started to rub my back and he leaned his head on my arm. And he said, "Oh, Aunt Misty, it's gonna be okay. Gabriel, you are so precious." Yes, he gave me the thumbs up, he knows. You are the essence of your daddy. His legacy will continue to live on through you. You have such an incredible mother. She is teaching you wonderful, wonderful things. You need to always listen to her. And although your daddy is not here physically, I know that as you grow up and you go through life, your daddy is gonna be there and he's gonna be carrying you on his back still. I promise you that. He loves you, Gabe. He loves you, Nicole and Whitney. The entire Wilcox family looks forward to the day that we can reconnect with those girls. There's so much love that we have to share with them. Until then, I want to express my deepest appreciation to the Anderson family for the love and support that they have given to Nick's girls. I will be forever grateful. I love you, brother.
In a small town, a rural town, there lived a very special family. In that family, there was a little boy whose job it was to cry wolf to warn his family and the townspeople of impending danger. There were times in this little boy's voice that he would faintly cry wolf. To all who heard, it sounded strange sometimes, but kind of cute in a different sort of way. No one knew what wolf meant to the little boy, but the wolves did, as they were there with him from the moment he was born. The wolves wanted and waited and watched and even planned with the little boy at times. They even played with the little boy at times, but mostly they whispered lies to him. The townspeople and even his family didn't understand, not at all. How could they? In his efforts to stave off the hungry wolves, the others just put up with the boy and his wolves. No one but the wolves knew of the boy's self-created agony. No one but the wolves did. Over the years, the wolves, no longer forced to keep their distance, moved in closer, causing the little boy to not only lose sleep night after night, but his mind as well. In his constant search for happiness, many, many times in his short life, the little boy was backed up to the very edge of the highest mountains and peaks by these relentless wolves. You see, the little boy felt that if somehow he could become one of the beautiful people he had spent so many hours reading about, well, mostly they lived in Hollywood, then he would show his family and all the townspeople that he truly was a successful somebody. And no matter what he had done and how he had lost all that he had, he knew that he was a smart and truly incredible person. And the little boy really was. Well, that was his goal. In fact, right up to the last few weeks of the little boy's life. But in the end, with years of sleepless nights and a goal that was still nowhere near, he realized that no one could help him. No things could, no place could, no love, it would seem, could. This time, all the wolves in the little boy's mind attacked. They devoured any joy he had had, be it real or fake, horribly eating away his facade of any hope for normalcy. Frantically, the little boy attempted to bring back his sense of purpose and join the many beautiful people out there who seemed to be keeping their wolves at bay. Surely, because they looked and acted so happy and successful, the little boy just wanted to be them. He was positive he could. And all the people he knew, he could be like them and be loved, and he could be somebody. But finally, after reading hours on end and working out all on his fine physique, but losing years of sleep night after night, his ever-vigilant watch for the wolves was to no avail. And finally, the boy realized that he was beaten down to the sad reality that he was powerless against the wolves. This sad realization brought clarity in his final days about his whole life and who he thought he really was. He made a final pact with the wolves. I will let you take me, but only if it's my way, my choice, and my own will. He could no longer remember what peace felt like. His loved ones tried to help him find what he had lost. But how do you help somebody find something that he can't even remember, that he never really remembered he had? And in those final hours, the boy, now a physically strong and handsome man, cried out, "Wolf, wolf!" The man shouted hopelessly to the beautiful people, and then as a last resort, with a broken heart and spirit, he cried wolf one more time to his beloved family. But the wolves were at him now, relentlessly, with a new vengeance that the boy had never known.
But the wolves noticed something different. This man had a sense of clarity about his life and the wolves, but it was too late. The man was no match for his self-created wolves who took his life breath away with each painful second. They truly owned him. After Nick passed, the wolves were still there in the house, waiting for the grief and sorrow to subside in me, Nick's mother. This time they came after me. Blame and vengeance and judgment. I felt hate for those that I thought had hurt my son and driven him to this. And just as quickly as the wolves started to attack me to gain one more victory, Nick's spirit came and with one small commanding whisper made all the wolves disappear. And to those wolves he cried, "You no longer have power over me, and especially the ones I love. You are an illusion of reality and all of your lies." And so it was at last. The little boy who had cried wolf throughout his whole life completed that mission which he had come to accomplish. And that is to unite us as a family and remind each of us of who we are, what we are, and that is love. And so it is. I love you, little Nikki. I miss you so much. I love Nikki. Thank you for everyone who's spoken.
Well, I was like so insistent on being an hour, and we're over the hour, so I'm going to be fast. I am Nick's oldest sister, Portia, and it is my privilege to celebrate my brother's life, and it's my birthday, so it's a really special day and a special time for me. I'm going to share a little bit about the end of Nick's life. The last 2 months, he called me from California and said, "Hey, I'm really struggling. I need help." So when he came home, I got to spend a lot of time with Nick. I would run up and we'd go for a walk, or I'd run up and we'd say a prayer. He went to, I think, 3 AA meetings one night. He called me. My mom was taxiing him around to AA meetings, and he's not even an alcoholic. I just said, "You need to get help, brother." Go anywhere you can, you know. I kind of think my brother's a bit of a warrior because he struggled and suffered in ways that most of us can't possibly comprehend. One of the things that's pretty amazing about Nick was we were wild when we were younger, all of us. And I think in one night, Misty and I had boyfriends that both wrecked their car in Pepperwood. So if you're from Pepperwood, you might remember that. They went around to 2 different turns and wrecked. And then Nick took the cops on a high-speed chase about a week later. So it was a pretty rough time. And then Nick came back and said, "I'm going on a mission." And we're all looking at him like, "Are you crazy?" The bishop probably thought, "Are you crazy?" But Nick went to everyone in the ward and apologized for the way that he had behaved. And I think that Nick's choice to go on a mission has really impacted my life because the relationship that I have with my Savior and the faith that I have has been such a strength to me through my own struggles. So I want to thank Nick for that. I was fortunate, actually not so fortunate, because the night before Nick passed, my husband and I were in a serious car accident, and Chad's over there with the broken arm to prove it. And the next morning, my sister called and told me she was concerned about Nick, and so I was able to get to the hospital and talk to the doctors who told me that Nick was going to pass. And I said, "Is there any way that we can do organ donation?" She said, "I don't think so." So I walked away to go talk to my parents, and before I got outside, the social worker came running back to me and said, "He's fighting to live." And I said, "Okay." So I went out and told my parents, and my dad said, "Portia, talk to the doctors, please help me see my son." And I don't know if anyone else could live the way Nick did and fight as hard as he did, but we were able to go in, and I was able to witness one of the most spiritual moments of my life. I watched my mother rub my brother's feet, and my dad stand at the top of the bed and say, "Nick, I was here the day you were born, and I'm here with you now." how I love you. I'm so proud of you. It's okay, Nick. It's time for you to go now. We love you so much, brother. We're proud of you. It's time for you to go now. We're grateful that we got the time that we did with you. I want you to know that I know that Jesus Christ is the Savior, that I felt his love, that I've knelt before him. I felt myself kneel before him. Because of him, Nick, you finished the race. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Wow, I didn't know there were so many people here. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. I don't know what I'll say, but I will say it in love. I have the spirit this morning of the love of my son. So I'll just say this. I couldn't even imagine not having my children. And I could never, ever imagine that I didn't have all of my children. All 7. And I understand now that I do. And I always was afraid of losing one of my children. And now I know that I haven't. But I will miss him. I will miss him. He was, as been explained here, was a unique person. Someone is a little different than most. And our family loved the difference. Our family always loved all of our differences, and we have a lot of unique personalities here. And we all love each other, and we have a tremendous bond of love and acceptance here. We appreciate everyone is here to draw that spirit with us, and together we are enjoying the fruits of our existence, the true fruits of our existence, the love that we have for each other. Nick was named for an ancestor, a very adventurous ancestor who started life in Cornwall, England, went to South Africa and colonized, went to America, and ended up in Holden, Utah. And in his 80s, I think he was 86 or 88, he took a trip from Holden to Garrison, Nevada, which is desert, all the way. He took that trip for the love of his 2 daughters that he hadn't seen for a long time, whose husbands were ranchers in that area. And he lost his life in that trip, in that adventure. And his family, his sons, looked for him for almost a year before they found him. That was Nick's namesake. I named him for Nicholas Paul, that adventure that I heard about when I was 5 years old from my grandpa, telling me the story of Nicholas Paul and his great-grandpa. So Nick had a heritage, and our family has a heritage and it's a heritage of love. And so we have been so pleased to have the Spirit here with you all today and share with the love that we have in our family. And thank you so much for being here. Those that made a trip to get here, thank you so much. Thank you. And for everyone that came, it's so gratifying for me to have the honor of have you folks take a look at who my son was when he was here in this realm. It's a joyful day in my family. I know my mother is here with her wonderful smile and bouncing around, talking to Nick. He loved Nick. Nick used to go see her in St. George, just himself. That's the way Nick was. So I won't say any more of your time, and I appreciate everyone that's been here and love you all.
Go find that. Go experience something that'll make you feel good. This is a great experience for me. It makes me feel good, so that's why I'm out doing it. So go out and do that which will make you have good feelings and a good experience and have a lot of good positive traits or talents or gifts or development come out of it. So, all right? Awesome. I'll talk to you here in a bit. Oh, this is awesome. The canyon. I'll do some more video when I get up to the top. I thought it was going to take me longer, but this is a lot quicker than I thought. All right. See you on the next video. Remember, one step at a time. It's just like hiking the top of this. The journey of 1,000,000 miles begins with a single step. Well, each step I take on this hike is getting me closer to the top. So go out there, take some more steps today toward what you're trying to achieve, what your purpose is and what you're wanting to accomplish. Go do that now. You have the opportunity. All right? I'm gonna go climb up here, on top of this. Talk to you then. All right, here we are at the top of this canyon. Now you can see down into the valley up here, and over into the Beaver Valley. It's pretty cool, down into the Salt Lake Valley. On the top of the tram at Snowbird. Pretty amazing. I didn't even realize they had snowboarders and skiers here going on, but they do. So, at any rate, go out there and enjoy it. Go out there and do what you want to do to make yourself feel good and be happy. So, pretty cool. It's beautiful up here today. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. It's a little chilly, but it's all right. The hike warmed me up, so I'm feeling all right now. You can see clear out into the Great Salt Lake. Well, I'm gonna sit down and eat some of my food, and then we'll talk to you in the next video. Later. The main thing I wanted to show you is behind me, that rock wall there. So I had a good friend named David Kimmer. He was a fitness model who got me really involved in fitness, and he passed away of an unfortunate event with a drug overdose, and it's been about 3-4 years now. At any rate, sometimes I feel his presence with me. Kind of like right now, we actually raced along this road right here, and I pulled my hamstring, and we climbed these walls here as rock climbing. Anyway, just wanted to say, you never know how long your good friends are going to be with you, so try to appreciate them and take advantage of the time you have with those you love, your friends, those you care about. So anyway, just wanted to do a quick shout out to my friend David Kimmer, one of the greatest fitness models that I knew. All right, talk to you on the next video. Peace out. Later. Yeah.